For the thousands in attendance and the millions watching around the world, we are live and amplified. So let's get ready to podcast.
Fire it up.
Everybody, to another live and amplified podcast. I'm your host, Tom Quiet, and we are back at it again with another amazing podcast. Today, we have a very special guest. We have Melanie A. Davis. How's it going today, Melanie?
Good. How are you?
Doing pretty good. It's actually looks a lot nicer than it is outside. I was looking out my window, and I'm like, man, if I didn't know any better, I'd think it's like 70 or 80 degrees. And then I look at my phone, and it's like, yep, nope, it's 30. I'm not going out there.
It is the same over here. The exact same, actually. We had a real cloudy front behind the house, and it's super sunny in the front.
Yeah.
It looked almost apocalyptic this morning.
I mean, that's like Western Kentucky, though. Like that's just kind of how it is. I remember in Southern Illinois, it was just like, man, it looks a lot nicer than it really is out there. I'm not going. Sorry, not going to class. Bye. We're good. But first off, I want to thank you so much for jumping on the podcast. I'm really excited to sit down and chat with you.
Yes, me too.
But for people that are just getting introduced to you and just finding out about you, can you kind of give us a introductory to who you are, what got you into music, stuff like that?
Sure. Well, my name is Melanie A. Davis, and I started playing guitar, playing out the songs that I've been writing for a really long time, about 5 years ago, I think. So I've been around the Western Kentucky area primarily, but I'm a folk jazz musician is how I describe it succinctly.
Nice. And how long have you been in Western Kentucky?
Since 2014.
Okay.
So I moved there. I went to Murray State for music business, and then I've just stuck around Murray ever since.
Nice.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's like, I mean, just that area is nice. Like we were talking before we jumped on, it was like, I don't know if I've ever been to like Murray specifically, but I've been around the area enough to like, I can just kind of assume Murray's just like every place else. But like I used to go to like Kentucky Lake and land between the lakes and all that stuff. And it's just,
it's awesome. Yeah. And it's weirdly close to everything too. Like it's close to Nashville. Louisville is a little bit longer of a trek, but I mean, you can still get there. So it's a convenient place to live too.
Yeah. 'Cause, like that's when I brought up to you that was one of the places I was looking to move before I got to Texas. One of the reasons was it was like 2 hours, 2.5 hours from Nashville, 2.5 hours from Memphis, 2 hours, 2.5 hours from my buddies. And they don't live in St. Louis, but like they all live around St. Louis. And so it was just kind of like, man, other than those random like snow ice storms that we used to get, it was just like, it would have been the perfect place to live. But you know, it is what it is. But you're originally from Southern Indiana.
Yes. Yep.
Who introduced you to music?
Oh man, I think I've always been around music. My parents loved to listen to music, and then both of my siblings were in band in school. So I sort of followed them around. I was the little sister at marching band practice and stuff. And then my brother, Tom Davis, he is a guitarist, and he started, I mean, he was young, I guess early teenage years. So I sort of grew up watching him play guitar. And then I got into music in high school, and it's just, I've always been around it.
I mean, like, I think that's just growing up in the 90s and early 2000s when like school art programs were still kind of a thing. And you know, where we still had band, or you could take a music class, or you could take an art class. It was a lot easier to get exposed to that stuff. Where, like, I mean, I know it's different state to state and all that stuff, but I know, like, back where I was, they made a lot of that stuff obsolete, and it was like an elective for a minute, and it was just like,
Hmm.
man, you're
Yeah,
neglecting a lot of these kids.
I know. It's a shame. I was really lucky. The high school I went to in Mount Vernon, um, the choir teacher, the programs were off the charts. I was super lucky to go to the high school I went to.
Nice. That's
Yeah.
awesome.
Hmm.
So who are some of your influences, like as you were getting in, starting to take music professionally
Hmm.
as a career choice? Who were some of the influences you were listening to kind of mold who you wanted to be as a musician?
Yeah. Um, I really like older music, sort of from the mid 60s and 70s. I was really big into jazz singers for a super long time. So I was listening to Ella Fitzgerald and Billie Holiday, um, Anita O'Day, things like that. And then uh, I was introduced to Joni Mitchell by my brother when I was younger, and I don't think I quite appreciated it as much as I do now, but I started getting really into Joni Mitchell and Laura Nyro, Joan Baez, that sort of folk revival movement of the 60s. I like that a lot.
Awesome, awesome.
Yeah,
And so let's go ahead and jump into the album. You just
sure.
released back in December, Dear
Hmm.
Diary, Do You Hate Me?
Yes.
It's is it technically an EP, or do you classify as an LP because it's got like 7 songs on it?
Yeah, I think it's a full album because of
Okay.
the time requirements.
Okay.
When I first started it, though, it had the sort of informality of an EP.
Mm-hmm.
And then we had so much time to fiddle and experiment that it turned into a much more full sort of project, you know?
Right.
I had originally planned for just acoustic guitar, just vocals, like a very stripped down thing.
Yeah,
Um, but we had more time because we were in quarantine, so we had nothing to do but do that.
I got you.
Yeah.
So you released it in December 20th, right? Yeah.
Yes,
Okay.
December 4th, 2020.
Okay.
Yeah.
Um, I was like, it was December 20, but it wasn't the 20th. But
Right.
yeah.
Yes.
Uh, what kind of went into the song selection process? You'd mentioned that you were originally kind of planning on like an EP, but then it kind of
Mhm.
expanded. So, what went into the song selection process?
Yeah, I had a lot of those songs for a while. I mean, I think Paradox was one of the oldest songs I had had when I first started playing out. But most of the songs I picked were more personal than I would think to put in an album. Like the album title itself, I had always joked that that was going to be reserved for my emo album, and we had all this time to record songs, so I wanted to do the songs I wouldn't have thought to normally record. Uh, yeah, so it turned into something where the songs were a little less cringy to me. Like there were more parts to it where I wasn't just thinking, "Oh my gosh, that time in my life," you know.
Yeah, I
It
got you.
was it was something I could really believe in again.
Yeah, that's. Are you still working on that emo album, or did
No, I
this?
think that's it. That's
Okay.
the emo album.
Okay.
Yeah.
Fair enough. Fair enough. Um, are you working on any visual elements for this album? Because I see you've got a like on your YouTube channel, you got some like
Hmm.
live performances and a video for memory off
Hmm.
your previous album. But are you working on anything for this album?
Not at the moment. I've had little passing notions of what I might start to work on. Um, but no, I guess that's the one thing that I still stayed relaxed on was, we'll have fun, we'll produce the songs, we'll put them out, and maybe that's just where it stays.
Mm-hmm.
But I have had thoughts of music videos and things like that, but nothing right now.
I gotcha. Because
Yeah.
it's just one of those things where it's like it's the pandemic, nobody's really doing anything.
Yeah.
Like I don't know what the scene like is out in Western Kentucky if you guys are playing or. what
We are
have you.
not. No, yeah. It's been a mess in that regard. It's been really weird trying to transition and do it safely when we could, like socially distanced shows. That's a whole other thing.
Yeah,
It's been weird.
I have faith. Yeah,
Yeah.
because that's like the weird thing in Texas here. It's like one weekend I'll get an email or a message saying, "Hey, here's the list of all our shows this weekend," and there's like 30 of them, and then I
Mhm.
won't get another email for like 3 or 4 weeks, and it's like, "Are we open? We not open? What are we doing here?" Like,
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
but then I get a message from my buddy. He's like, "Yeah, you just got to kind of go to the open mics. That's where you'll get your information." I'm like,
Mhm.
"Yeah, but the open mics are on like Tuesday, and I got to work. Like,
Yeah,
I,
it
I
is the
don't really have
struggle.
time for all this."
Yeah.
But uh, so but for this album, I noticed that it's primarily available digitally and on
Mhm.
streaming. Are
Yep.
you looking at making hard copies for it, or because there's not really any touring or shows, it's kind of on hold at the moment?
Yeah, it's on hold, but it'll happen. I think I'm gonna wait until I get back on the road. I bought a lot of merch because the other album I released in 2020, we
Mm,
had grand plans to be touring all year. So we'll hold off on that, but that'll happen.
gotcha, gotcha. So let's talk about its Allegoria, right?
Allegoria.
Allegoria. I was like,
Yeah.
that's what I thought it was, and I was like, nope, that can't be right. And then like, okay,
Yep.
Allegoria.
Mhm.
How does that album differ from your current album, Dear Diary? Do you hate me?
It's much more political.
Okay.
There are more sort of macro ideas that I'm trying to, I guess, process in my own way. I started, I guess some of the songs on Allegoria are about as old as some songs on Dear Diary, because everything kind of started in 2016
Mm-hmm.
and a lot of other things started in 2016. So Allegoria sort of was built around current events that were going on, how I was reckoning with that. So yeah, it was more outward,
Mm-hmm.
I guess, and the effects of those external factors, whereas Dear Diary was much more internal and the emotional reactions to those internal things.
Gotcha, gotcha. Yeah, I
Mhm.
was not to get too political, but I had a good
Right.
laugh at some of the like live videos that you had on your YouTube channel. So
Yeah.
it was good. I not yeah, like I said, not to get too political, but
Hmm.
good job. I enjoyed
Thank
it.
you.
So now that you've so you started your career in 2016 and you released an album early in 2020 and then you decided to release one later in 2020. What's kind of going through your mind now that you've kind of released two albums back to back, not being able to tour? Like what's kind of going through your mind right now?
Hmm. Well, I guess I'm just hunkering down and waiting to get the train rolling again. I really like the process of, finding new venues to go to, finding new musicians that you can connect with on those shows on the road. And so I'm very much ready to just I'll get back into the emailing game and get back into it. Uh
I
and
see a
really no, sorry, what were you going to
I was
say?
gonna say I see a lot of musicians, especially from like Nashville and
Mhm.
Tennessee and Kentucky. They're coming to Texas. Just
Yeah.
like
Yep.
I've seen a few different emails come my way saying, "Hey, we'll be in name some big city. Is that near
Mhm.
you?" And it's like that's like 4 hours away. Like
It's such a
it's
big
very funny
state.
because people don't realize how big Texas is, and it's like
Yes.
yeah,
Yeah.
but
Well, we were actually going to go through Texas. We had quite a few dates in July,
mm-hmm,
this past July.
yeah,
And that was part of a big tour out west. And we were going to cut across, the Midwestern area and then come back up north. So we were very excited to come to Texas, but it
yeah,
just did not happen.
yeah. Unfortunately, I
Hmm.
will say though. as you are as things start to open back up, maybe end of the year or 2022, which
Hmm.
it's like I hate saying that because it's like,
I know, but it seems to be the safer bet, you know?
yeah,
It's tough to schedule and cancel and
yeah,
it's yeah.
it's one of those things because I remember like back when the pandemic first started, March, I was talking to bands. I was like, so fair to say, March, April, May, kind of off the plate.
Hmm.
What shows do you have June, July that you're like really wanting to play?
Hmm.
Thinking June, July, we'd be fine. And then of course now, yeah, nope, nothing.
Yeah.
But it's like, man, is it really at that point already where we could just kind of cross off 2021 as well? Like it's kind of
I
messed up.
know. I don't want to think so. My fiance, Fate, and I are scheduled to get married this year, so we're hoping that 2021
Yeah.
gets to be a little better.
Yeah, that's what happened to my sister. She was supposed to get married in October last year,
Mm-hmm.
and then like pandemic hit, and she was just like, you know what? She canceled the wedding. Her and her husband went and grabbed a pastor and got eloped in a park or something with
Oh,
nobody
that's
there.
awesome. That's romantic. I like that.
And oh, it pissed off a lot of people in my family.
Oh
But
gosh. Well, yeah.
but this year they're supposed to have like their like an actual, not an
Yeah.
actual, but like a party or something. I don't know,
Mm-hmm.
but I'll be coming through, so I'm excited.
Yeah, definitely.
But no, so you were planning a trip through Texas. One place
Mm-hmm.
you got to stay. I don't know if you believe, but Roswell, New Mexico has a pretty awesome music scene.
Yes, well, I didn't know about their music scene.
Yeah,
We went through so 2 summers ago. Maybe I've been to Texas more than I thought I have. I don't know. But 2 summers ago we went out west as well and we stopped at Roswell and went to the UFO museum
yeah,
and the Bottomless Lake
yep,
State Park. It's
yep.
so cool out there. I love
Okay,
it. Yeah.
I lived out there for 4 years, so I'm
That's
very.
awesome. Yeah.
It's one of those things where it's like you live somewhere for that long, and everybody gets excited about going to the museum or like
Yeah.
Bottomless Lakes is cool. Like I haven't
Mhm.
actually like gone in there just because every time it was nice enough and I could go out there, there was like or not a million, but like hundreds
Yeah.
of people, and it's just like
Mhm.
I ain't dealing with that. So,
Yeah.
but Bottomless is cool,
Mhm.
museum's cool, and then there's a lot of like really good restaurants.
Nice.
That's
Yeah.
just kind of there. Um, so, uh, but yeah, so music scene. There's a lot of good venues out there that are
Very cool.
trying to get shows going, but New Mexico being New Mexico, it's just kind of like,
Yeah. I'm cool to go anywhere. I'm very excited to just sort of pick up the pieces of the dates that we had that were canceled and get it going again. It'll be
nice,
cool.
nice. So for Dear Diary, and then like was did you produce it yourself, or did you go into like a proper studio since it was like very much in the thick of um the
Mhm.
pandemic? What was the recording process of that like?
It was completely self-recorded at home.
Nice,
My partner Fate, he engineered it all,
nice.
and then we just sort of swapped out instrument parts. If someone heard a cool bass line, they would do that. I think we both play the drums, bass, guitar, piano, and then I did the vocals. But yeah, it was all a home studio thing. We got some new gear that we were excited to use, which I won't even begin to describe because I'm not a gearhead, so I just don't get any of that. But
Yep.
luckily, Fate does. So it was
Nice.
a cool process. It was very intimate. We just were able to take our time. There wasn't the pressure of like not only a schedule like a calendar, but also just a bunch of money going into studio time. We
Yeah.
just sort of did it on our own pace, which was
So
nice.
this was very much a pandemic project, fair to say.
Hmm. Yes, for sure.
And like the difference being Allegoria, is that was that done proper studio? You
Hmm.
went into a studio and recorded that?
Yeah, that one was recorded at two separate places. The majority was over at Welcome to 1979 in Nashville. And then the first track only was recorded at Loud and Clear Studios in Paducah. And
Okay.
that's where it was mastered, the whole thing.
Okay.
So, yeah,
Nice.
that was more, you know, proper studio time, trying to get it out there, do a big tour on it. Yeah.
Gotcha. Gotcha. So with the or when there isn't a global pandemic kind of wreaking havoc on the music industry, how often are you usually out playing live shows?
We were doing about 2 gigs a week when we were around, um, the Western Kentucky area.
Yeah.
So on the weekend. And then we were trying to take a bigger trek at least once a month, maybe 2 months, if it was going down to Asheville for a long weekend
Mhm.
or maybe going up to the Ohio area because
Mhm.
that's where the majority of my family lives in and around Columbus.
Mhm.
So we were keeping busy.
Nice.
We were very busy.
So you were doing enough show. Are you a full time or were you a full time musician or are you?
No, I wear many hats.
Okay.
I also work part time at the NPR affiliate in Murray, WKMS.
Nice.
And so that's really cool. I work over there. I teach music lessons. I worked at a liquor store when I was busy touring and all that stuff.
Yeah.
So lots of little hats.
Nice.
And
How do
then
you like
music
working
also.
at that's a radio station, right? NPR?
Yeah.
How do you
hmm
like working there?
I love it. I love NPR. I'm such a huge public radio nerd. I think it's so cool that I get to work in NPR
Mm.
and just it feels like being around celebrities. When we went to Chicago, I think April of 2019, we had like a long weekend up there and had a few shows. And we stopped by the radio station that does Wait, Wait, Don't Tell Me,
Mm-hmm.
which is like, the Saturday NPR news quiz. And I was just fawning like a fangirl. I feel like a 70-year-old woman when I say that, but I love working there.
Hey, that's so. Do you so since like NPR is like a national? Are you allowed to go into like different NPR studios or no? Not really.
No, I don't have any cool credentials. That would be awesome.
Yeah. Okay. So because I work for an ABC affiliate out here in
hmm
Texas, so I guess it'd be kind of like that where it's like, no, no, you're not
Yeah, and
allowed.
I suppose I've never tried. I guess I could, but the door was locked to the other radio station and I could not get in. So
Yeah. Fair enough. Fair enough. So, do you have any aspirations of being like on air talent on the radio or?
I think that would be really cool. I want to stay busy on the road
Hmm.
for now.
Yeah.
That's the main thing, but I've always thought it would be neat to do something like the live sessions at KEXP or,
Mm.
you know, they already do that at WKMS. They have a live lunch program. So something like that, like a World Cafe thing where
Yeah.
you're just sharing playlists with
Yeah.
people nationally, which is just bonkers to me that that's a job.
Yeah.
It's very cool.
You know, it's one of those things where it's like right now it's so easy to do. Like you could easily set up an internet radio
hmm
thing and just kind of run with it.
Yeah.
But there's still something to be said to be like on a radio station, terrestrial radio station. It's just kind of
Yeah.
like
hmm
we all listen to the radio as kids. Like,
Yeah.
we
There's so
actually
much
just launched
history
our
there.
own like 2 hour rock radio program in Roswell. Um, and it's just one of those things where it's like, man, this is the coolest thing. Like, anytime
hmm
we sit down to record, because we have to like pre-record all this stuff because we're doing like indie music, so it's not like their database has
Right.
Amy's not, like just
hmm
whatever the indie band that we're featuring. And so it's really cool, but it's a lot of work. But
Yeah. Yeah.
so outside of music, what's kind of your thing? What do you do outside of music?
I like to bake
Okay.
and cook. That is, I think, a quarantine thing. I would before, but when we were stuck inside, I started doing a lot more homemade things. And now I'm just crazy about it. So I do a lot of baking. I'm a cat mom to three lovely cats.
I did see that meme on your face. I don't remember if it was your personal Facebook page or your business one, but it's the picture. What do you? It was like, what are you doing tonight? And it was a picture of Cinderella's mom with the cat or something.
Yes.
I'm
Yep.
like, that's funny.
That tracks. That's what I do.
That's very funny. What's your
Hmm.
favorite thing to bake?
Hmm. I really like banana bread.
Mm.
That one's pretty good because you can do so many subtle changes to
Mhm.
it to make it taste different. Like that. And then I also have a go-to cookie recipe that's been passed down a couple generations now in my family. That's
Yeah.
another go-to.
Yeah. I recently that like when I was growing up, I thought that's how my mom's cookie recipe was, and
Mm-hmm.
then I realized she was just reading the recipe off the back of the Toll House chocolate chips,
Mm-hmm.
and I was just like,
It's a good recipe.
I feel so let down. I thought this was like some ancient family recipe, and it's off
Yeah,
the Toll
well,
House cookie pack.
that's exactly what this cookie recipe was. I think it was, oh, I forget. It's like Ethel's sugar cookies is
Yeah,
this super old from the early 1900s cookie recipe. But
yeah,
now that it's been passed down, we can just say it's family recipe.
yeah. It's
Yeah.
yeah. Like when I realized that, I was just like, oh, I'm so
Hmm.
depressed now. But I'm still gonna eat it, Mom. Don't worry about it.
Right. Yeah.
But because it's made with love, that's all that matters.
Exactly right.
Yeah.
Exactly.
So one of the things that we like to do here on Live and Amplified is we like to pass on knowledge to young musicians.
Hmm.
So from your standpoint, what's one thing that you know now that you wish you would have known when you first got into the started playing music professionally?
Hmm. I guess I feel like what I'm about to say sounds really cryptic, but things aren't always what they seem in this industry,
Hmm.
if that makes sense. So I feel like in the arts, there is a certain competitive element to it.
Hmm.
And I think you can get very caught up in what people to your left and right are doing or sounding like something else, like manufacturing a certain sound that maybe isn't quite natural because you feel like that's what you should do.
Hmm.
I think having that sort of knowledge and hindsight would be helpful for a starting musician because you sort of then have the freedom to do what you want to do and just naturally sing how you want, write the things you want, play the way you want, and not worry about marketability or
Right.
any sort of thing like that.
Fair, fair.
I don't know
Um,
if that is good advice for someone trying to make it big. Probably not, but that's my advice.
what was one of the things that you learned kind of going through the process of because I get a lot of emails asking I don't know what kind of musician I want to be.
Hmm.
Like I mean they all word it a little bit differently, but that's all essentially what the question is.
Yeah.
What was one of the things that or how did you kind of develop your sound and come to like well, not come to terms but like decide who you want to like what your sound wants to or what you want your sound to be.
Hmm. I think just a lot of different musical elements, um, and giving myself the freedom to do something weird. I've been recording for a while.
Mhm.
I started back in high school with Audacity and a
Mm.
Windows 95
Yep.
microphone,
Yep.
which is pretty crazy. But
Yeah.
and I would, do a doo-wop harmony if I felt like doing doo-wop type stuff, or I would program an electric guitar and try to do, an indie alt rock thing. And I just kind of, I don't know. I'm sure that there were a few specific musical elements that really sort of honed in what I'm
Mhm.
doing now, but it seems like it was just a big conglomeration of things and letting whatever happens happen.
Gotcha. And so then kind of moving forward as 2021 goes on, it's like it's so weird to say 2021 still because it's
I know.
like I don't
It's
even
very
feel like
weird.
there was a 2020 to be honest
It
with you.
sounds like a future word. Just
Yeah.
like that's a year that's not even gonna happen.
Yeah.
They're
Pretty
hover
much.
cars. Yeah.
uh So as things kind of keep moving on through 2021, what's your plans moving forward?
I guess just keep my head down. We're gonna do some stuff around Murray, some homemaking stuff. Maybe buy a house. Like I said, we were gonna get married and um, keep writing and keep trying to stay inspired and practicing. I felt when the pandemic first started, I realized that my practicing on guitar was just the gigs that I had every week because I knew I was going to be playing for 3 hours at a restaurant and
Yeah,
that was my practice. So without the gigs, I
yeah,
realized I was not practicing.
fair enough.
Yeah, keeping that up and then obviously keeping an eye on everything if it's safe, if we've been vaccinated. And then as soon as we can start, we'll start.
Awesome, awesome.
Mm-hmm.
What kind of goes since you're going to be doing probably a lot more writing in 2021? What kind of goes into your writing process? What's that process like for you? Are you very free flowing with it, or are you kind of do you have to be more strategic, like 7 p.m. to 9 p.m. I have to be creative?
No, I can't do that, which is surprising because I am that way about almost every other part of my life.
Oh,
But normally the writing process will start with freeform poetry.
mm,
Just I have like three separate notebooks that are all for different parts of the writing process.
okay.
So I have like my gibberish poems, and then I'll eventually take two or three lines, maybe from a couple different ones, and if I'm hearing a chord progression that is particularly touching or moving, then I'll sort of move forward with that. But no, I try not to schedule it because I will get
Mm,
inside of my head and I will not create anything that I want to keep around. So when it
okay.
hits, I just try to harness it when that happens.
Yes. Now, when you say that you try not to schedule it because you get inside your own head,
Hmm.
producing stuff that you wouldn't want to keep around, does that mean it would be like an even darker emo album, or is it
Maybe I think it would just be really crappy songwriting
okay?
to
Okay.
where anyone would be like, ugh. So
Do you see a world in which you decide to kind of change it up and go into like a full punk emo thing,
I don't
or
know. I don't know. I only just started playing with a full band. I had been solo or, with one other person for such a long time. And playing with a full band is so cool. The power behind it, like the in sync nature of everyone. I've freaking loved it. So there is that possibility of getting a little heavier, a little louder,
yep.
maybe.
I do love watching that transformation of musicians. Like there's
Mm-hmm.
a sister duo that we watched, and I watched them go from like acoustic pop type, like an acoustic pop type sound,
Mm-hmm.
and now they're like on that verge of being like full punk right
That's
now. Like
awesome.
the one sister is like she's already there, and it's just like trying to get the other sister to fully commit, and it's like
Very cool. Yeah.
it's really interesting and funny to kind of see the whole
Mm-hmm.
like the transform, especially when you meet them when they're still like 16 or 17, and then like now they're almost 21. It's
Mm-hmm.
just like that 4 years in general is just such a transformative year in
Right.
for a lot
Yeah.
of people. So
Mm-hmm.
um but I don't want to take up too much more of your time. What's if people want to follow you online or listen to your music, where's the best place for people to do that?
MelanieADavismusic.com gets you to all the different places, but it's on Spotify, Apple Music. That
Oh,
is that is Luna. Um,
I
and
thought I saw
or
some. I thought I saw a cat or somebody kind of running on the side.
oh yeah, yep, it was very likely. But and then it's also on Bandcamp as well, and you can download straight to your computer, or you can get physical copies of Allegoria and some other albums as well.
Right. Oh, that's one thing I did want to talk about really quick
Hmm.
because I
Yeah.
really did appreciate the fact that you had like your homemade like demo albums for sale,
Hmm. Yeah.
which was really cool. Well, I mean, I've seen like the homemade albums for sale, but they weren't like labeled as like demos or whatever, which is
Hmm.
really cool. So I appreciated that.
Well, thank you. Yeah.
Have you ever given any thought to like pressing vinyl, or is that not?
Yeah, we have given lots of thought. I wanted to do a special birthday run of Allegoria
Hmm.
because the 1 year anniversary was not long ago.
Hmm.
But it's just we got to think about if we're making that money back
Yeah,
on touring or
yeah,
if we're not. But one day I would love to have just whatever songs, whatever album pressed to vinyl. That would be amazing.
nice. When you finally do that, let me know.
Okay,
I
I
love
will.
vinyl. I love it so much.
Yep, same.
But before we leave, I got to
Mhm.
ask you the most polarizing question I have in my back pocket.
Oh gosh, okay.
Pineapple pizza, yes or no?
Oh yeah, that's my favorite kind of pizza for sure.
I
Why? Are
so,
you a pineapple on pizza person?
no, no. I grew up in
Get out of
Chicago.
here.
That's like burn at the stake type.
No, see what you got to do. It can't just be pineapple, and I'm a vegetarian, so there's no ham. You
Yeah.
got to get pineapple and jalapeno. You get the spicy and the sweet. It's a
Mhm.
whole experience.
Oh, I'm
I'm
sure.
very much about it.
I'm more of a pineapple juice person. I like the
See, I don't like
pine.
pineapple juice.
Eh,
There's just conflicting pineapples.
okay.
Yeah.
But no, I'm secretly trying to feel it out and see if pineapple pizza is just like not a Chicago thing. But I'm finding out it's a very southern and coastal thing.
Yeah, that
Um,
makes sense. I think I like all types of pizza though.
yeah.
All
Yep.
types.
But you know, it, it's problematic either way. Like people get
It's
enraged,
true.
just like,
It's
"Brr."
very true.
Yeah,
It's divisive.
yep. There you go. That was the word I was looking
Mhm.
for. I was like, I don't know what word I'm looking for.
Mhm.
Problematic. There it
Yep.
is. That'll work. But once again, I want to thank you so much for jumping on the podcast. It's been an
Yes,
absolute
thank you.
blast. Thank you everybody for tuning in, and we will catch you guys later. All right, we're good.
Awesome. Thank you so much for having